So we're getting to the end of August, and I have 4 things that you need to do with your garden here in the August month. Now this video applies to anyone who's gardening in a colder climate where you're going to get some snow eventually, anywhere from September to December. Now, number 1 is actually going to be filling up those empty spaces. And you may be wondering if it's even worth fall cropping in your area. I'm going to do a video on this. It really truly depends on the hours of sun you get and when those hours of sun deplete, along with temperatures, etc. and so forth. I'm in zone 3, so if you're thinking it may be possible, there are a number of crops you can start, and I've done a video on that, so go check that out. Most of which are root veg and leafy greens, but there are some oddities in there that you'd be maybe surprised that could grow in this colder climate. So whether you're seed starting them in ground or you're doing them as starts in a container, right now here in August is the time to fill up those spaces that are empty. Now, when you have empty space, make it available. What I mean by that is if you have a plant that's looking lackluster, whether it's a flower or a vegetable, remove it. Or if you have a plant that's done producing, such as cauliflower or broccoli, now's the time to remove that and make that space available for actually planting your new crops. Okay, next up is cover cropping. Now, cover cropping can come into play when you want to fill in those dead spaces, but you're not necessarily interested in fall or winter cropping. Cover cropping is incredibly important for snow capture, along with just making your soil better. I highly advise cover cropping in particular if you have a new garden bed, whether that's raised or in ground. The more crops you get on, the quicker that soil turns into something that's usable. So general rule is between 3 to 5 years before you start to see really good results from your garden. So if you've just started a garden this year, or you've started a garden in the last year or 2, maybe even 3, you're probably thinking to yourself, I'm terrible at gardening, it's not working out for me. It actually has nothing to do with that. It's just your soil isn't quite there yet to grow things like flowers or vegetables. And so to help maintain that or expedite the process of establishing that soil, I highly recommend cover cropping. Again, I have a whole video on this, so you can go check that out, and it's going to go through the ins and outs of how to choose a cover crop for a cold climate, all the way to what the benefits are and how to choose a cover crop specific to the benefits you're looking for. So cover cropping is tip number 2 for something you definitely need to do in August in your garden. So one time in which I would not cover crop, and I would also not plant a fall crop, actually is when you have really intense weed issues. So in particular, if you're having problems with thistles and or grass type plants. In the event that you have a really invasive weed or an intense weed that you want to get rid of, I would actually recommend taking the time to actually solarize that soil. You can solarize in the spring, and again, I have a video on that, or you can actually solarize right now. All you need is around 4 to 6 weeks of sun without any snow, if you will, to actually solarize that soil. So if you have a problem area in your garden, you don't want to plant a garden and you don't want to cover crop, but you know it's going to grow weeds between now and the first frost, actually using solarization is going to be incredibly important. And I actually have a patch over on the side of my house that I want to remedy with this solarization method. Now keep in mind, solarization can be harmful to soil microbes or microbiota. So solarizing in the fall will give that microbiota time to reestablish in the spring before you actually go to plant. Microbiota, while it's harmed by solarization, tends to recolonize relatively quickly, but if you don't want to have to wait for that recolonization for decomposition, mineralization, and just your rhizosphere in general, then I would actually really truly encourage you to solarize right now here in the fall by removing the plants that are spent and putting a poly or some sort of plastic covering in place. Okay, last up for tips and tricks for August in the garden is actually seed saving. Take this time right now to actually leave some fruits on the vine, whether it's jalapeno peppers, letting them turn red and almost wrinkly, all the way to cucumbers turning a little bit yellow, and tomatoes turning to literal mush, or flowers just going to seed. The season is winding down, and while you may think I need to deadhead, I need to remove the fruits to keep production going, we're a little bit too late in the season to really encourage that. So I would encourage you to allow things to just go. Literally just let the garden go. And my camera gave out because it got too hot. But essentially, Just stop watering and stop caring for the garden so much and allow things to set seed. This will allow you to stock up on seeds for next year, save you some cash. Also allow you to enjoy your garden a little bit because now you can relax and enjoy it rather than festering over weeds or watering, etc. and so forth. I hope these tips helped you guys out. If they did, be sure to give this video a thumbs up, hit that subscribe button, and I will see you guys in the next video.